Hey guys, my name is Sean and I'm a houseplant enthusiast from Jakarta, Indonesia. You're looking at a couple of plants here on the table that needed to do some plant care, propagation, and I thought what better way to do it than have you accompany me. So in this episode, I will overshare with you some of the care tips, what I'm doing with these plants, and maybe I'm curious to know how you think about the plant market currently, if you're following the trends or if you're just going at your own pace. What are some of your wish list plants? I would love to read that and just connect with you guys a little bit more. So without further ado, I'm just gonna get started with this table. I'm gonna start dividing this into two sides so I have some working space. It'll be fun because a lot of these plants, actually, they were screaming out for help months ago and I just never got around to doing it. So now I'm glad that we finally have a bit of time to work on it. Usually I do these things alone and with my gardener so I can walk through with him some of the care tips, but he's pretty well experienced with all these different types of plants, so there's no reason to go through with him again. And so we have this time for just us to work on this. This is a Tillandsia in my hand. I got this as a baby plant quite a long time ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It actually kind of died back a little bit at some point, and then I put it in a place outside where it's just super happy. So then it started flowering and then put off all these offsets within like 6 months time. So this is actually a pretty fast growing plant, but if you don't take good care of it, if you don't put it in the right place and care for it correctly, it might stunt in growth, it might even die back a little bit and rot. But this is doing well. It gets separated. I've been meaning to do it for a long time. This is a plant that I feel would benefit more from like just division rather than cutting, because if you look inside, there's very little area inside where you can like put a knife through in a way that wouldn't harm a lot of the older leaves. So, for example, I'm just making my first separation here. This will eventually become its own plant. And also, I need to kind of make sure that it is an offset, because the original plant that has flowered, that will most likely not flower again. That would have probably will die off. So some of these pups or its clones will start to flower and then do the same thing again. The cycle of life continues. But the reason we're separating it is, one, I mean, it looks good as a clump, honestly. You can hang it, you could put it on the pot. But I wanted to have a few of these so I can have them around the house. But also, if you look at it, this one here in particular, because one side is facing the mother, it's not really growing into that beautiful rosette that we like in our air plants. So if you want to have that beautiful rosette, you want to separate these pups when they're at a younger age. So I'm going to continue working on these, just gently. Take your time, put on some good music. This one has come off, not at the root, so we might lose a few leaves. Let me see if you see over here. But it's got a base here, so the base stem is doing okay. We lost a few leaves, but it should do okay. Let me know in the comment section down below if you think there's a better way to separate it. But for me, intuitively, I think really that separating it like this, gently, would be the best way to go. Sometimes I do that with my aroid flowers too. I just pluck the flower off, because when you are cutting it with the scissors, you might actually induce infection, because the scissors itself may not be clean unless you really sterilize it thoroughly with each cut. So it's just much faster to just pluck it off sometimes. Yeah, with some of these, the leaves are just gonna fall off, but if the leaves are still hanging on, I would just leave them alone as it is. Let me know. I'm curious to know how well Tillandsias grow in your area. For me, they need really, really strong, bright indirect light and very good airflow, and they need to dry up very, very instantaneously, very quickly. So no media, they're an air plant. This one, we lost a lot of leaves. This one, I might just even let go completely. Let me take off these leaves, and this has a little bit of roots. But these roots actually don't really adhere to a potting mix. They can live in the air. In fact, they do better without potting media. Although I suspect that you can, if it's a media that dries out really fast, you can absolutely grow them in some kind of media. But pretty useless, because they take water in through their trichomes, which is the fuzzy part of the leaf. So these three plants here, 1, 2, 3, seem to be immature, seem to not be mature enough to be separated. If I separated these, I think we would lose too many leaves. So I'm gonna leave this 3 alone as roommates. They actually look quite beautiful as a trio like this. And I see this one here might have lost a flower already. I see this dried part here, which is surprising because this is not a mature plant, it seems like. This is actually pretty satisfying, pretty fun. Okay, the last one I might leave together, also as a trio. Let me show you what that looks like. Love this. I'm glad we did this actually. So from that one clump, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 with 2 trios. Pretty cute. Tillandsias are very, very underrated. I really do recommend it. And it's the kind of plant where when you first get it, you might kill it. You might even kill a few. And there are easier ones. I think this one might be the ionantha, if I'm not wrong. And some of the hybrids could be easier to care for. So I urge you to give them a try. Welcome to a 2-month update. This is actually not everyone. I gave most of them to my mom. I had a whole row of them sitting here. And I figured out that that's too many for one person to grow. So she's happy to adopt all those plants. This is one that is in a 3-person situation. I think this one started to flower, but the flower died off. This is actually very cute. Look at that. I think this might be a different plant actually, but you can see from the bottom here that little offsets is starting to come out of here, which is going to suggest that this plant had put out flowers at some point, which encourages its pups to come out from the side. Next, we might work on this begonia. It's actually on what's on my green wall, but if you look at it from the side, it's like scraggly and it's like falling over. So it is not looking too good, but I want to show you these patterns up close. Look at how beautiful the leaves are. They're incredibly ornate. They come with a little bit of pink on them. So this is a plant that I enjoy having multiples of in my garden. In fact, I don't even remember where I got this from, but this is a plant that I really cherish, and it really makes my day when I see these, whether they're in pots or back there. They used to be back in that empty spot. But the thing with begonias is that eventually they will all get scraggly and long like this, and you always have to cut them back. That is the fact with all plants. So for me, propagation is a major part of plant care. I'm gonna take this top off. I'm gonna take all these tops off. I'm gonna be a bit greedy with this. This one, I see a little growing point here, so I might cut above that growing point in hope that something else would sprout above. And this one final, I just leave a little bit of leaf on, so at least I know what this plant is. And I'm actually placing them behind on the shelf there, where it gets watered a little bit less than it would on this wall. Because when you cut a plant so much, it will put out a lot of new vines, but then it will also need less water than before. In fact, I'm gonna do something that I've never done before on this channel. Make this stand on my belly, which is to get keiki paste. This is just basically bud breaker keiki paste. And some people said that you're supposed to wear gloves, but I don't really. I looked it up and it looked like it's okay to do it. So I'm gonna rub this on every growing eye that I see. This is to make sure that new buds will form where I made the cut. Usually one would form immediately below where I made the cut. But in this case, I want it to be more vigorous, so I'm gonna apply it liberally. And sometimes if you don't know where the growing eye is, just put it around the entire stem, all the way around. It should hit the growing eye at some point. Okay, so I've gotten some propagation vessel here. Begonias do extremely well with water propagation. With a size like this, I might even take this off, take the lower leaf. This is too many leaves to sustain one cutting. Might take one more off. So you know, if a 3-leaf and a pretty nice length stem, put it in water. When I take this, this is pretty much just a top cutting, tippy top cutting, and put this in water as well. Now, a lot of you guys are still commenting on how to maximize success rate for water propagation. I did a video a long time ago, but I'm gonna go through it now while I'm working on this begonia. So number one, when you give your water propagation, you don't need to add nutrient to the water. I just use tap water, but keep in mind, tap water is different in every region. Our quality differs to varying degrees. And what was I gonna say? Your tap water, if it contains too much minerals or other kinds of impurities, it might be not good for your plant. You might use distilled water or mineral water in your case. but in my case, it works very well. And the next thing is you need to give it light. So with a cutting like this is very close to the internal. I'm gonna take off one of the leaf in the bottom. So these plants are still photosynthesizing, they're still alive when you propagate them. So you definitely need to give it a lot of light. You need to give it good light. Some people put their propagation somewhere dark and it's just gonna rot and it's just not gonna make it. So the next thing you wanna do is make sure it's a right size vessel, because these plants, they actually release natural hormones into the water that they were propagated in. And then they would share this hormone with one another. So it's good to group them together in one vessel and not change the water often. And also make sure the volume of water is not too much where it really dilutes that hormone that they release into the water. That's the key to it. If you change the water every week, every day or whatever, the plant will not appreciate it because you're washing away the natural hormone it needs to root. So I have pretty much 100% success rate, and because of that. And the next thing is you do want to make sure that your cutting is well fertilized. They're healthy cuttings and you fertilize regularly so it's got all the stored up nutrients and energy in the leaf to produce the new shoot and new roots. If you're using a sick plant, you can. It's better than nothing. You can absolutely try to salvage it, but the chances reduce. So it's better to go with nice, healthy plants. And one more thing that I didn't include in that old video is that you should probably foliar spray it. Plants, if you watch my foliar spray video, plants can absorb nutrients from the leaves. So when it does not have roots, when you're propagating it, it can absorb some nutrients from the leaves. All right, that's all set. So I've got like 3 of these. I'm excited to have a lot of these begonias. And then, of course, the mother plant, we should see some more sprout from those. Here's the parent plant where we made the cuttings from. Look at all these new vines that's come out of the cuttings. They're doing incredibly well. So I've been leaving it on the wall like that and letting it grow. Although in the wall they tend to etiolate, but that presents a good kind of problem because I can actually propagate easily when the stems have longer internodes. But this is going to bush out a little bit. And then these are actually the cuttings. And again, I forgot about this video, so I actually potted up the rooted cuttings that were in water propagation into this, I think a few days ago, maybe even a week or 2 ago, and it seemed to be doing well. There's a bit of crisping over there. I think a bit of stress as we transition them from water to a potting media. But they do incredibly well with water propagation. I've got so much success with begonias in water propagation, and I really would like to enjoy more of this on my wall. This is the kind of bright colored plants that I've been enjoying these days. All right, the next plant is the Leea coccinea Burgundy. It's actually one of my favorite plants to grow and have around. It's pretty fast growing, and it's very, very beautiful burgundy leaves that look really good on a green wall. It looks good as a shrub, as a little tree, or just as a little bonsai. Imagine if you like kokodama. This is the right plant to use as a kokodama. It does have that beautiful color that looks like fall, and just really, really elegant looking leaves. And they do flower quite beautifully as well, although it's never flowered here in my care. But this is one scraggly plant that looks like pretty sad, and it does need repotting. This is a plant that is, as you can see here, pretty root heavy. So we need to give this a bigger pot. All right, that's a bigger pot. Give it some fresh potting media on top. Now, we're also going to be propagating this. Now, this plant actually should have its own care and propagation videos. I'm jumping ahead of myself here, but because this actually, I wanted to bush out. I didn't want one scraggly vine that goes continuously up, which is what happened to my first plant. I just want to cut it and make sure this is unhealthy, this is unhealthy. This row of leaf is healthy, so I'm going to cut above that. There you go. And then from here, it should encourage bushing and branching. So you need to do that with most of your plants, especially ones that you're trying to promote to be a shrub. Now, what you can do with the cutting up here is it gives you a chance to propagate and create more. So this is the tippy top cutting. It's got too many leaves. This is enough for a top cutting for me. Put it in water. And I've done many, many generations of this, so I'm super confident. And this as well, just gonna put this right in the water and just let it root, put it somewhere bright. All right, so this is one that we cut, and again, if you put this against the wall here, it looks really beautiful. I just wanted to show you that this is where we made the cut, and then a new vine came out of there with this beautiful, vigorous, growing, looking new leaves. And this shows such a stunning foliage if you look at this. I know that some of you guys like this kind of look. A lot of the plastic plants look like this in restaurants and such. They do feel like a fall color, fall season. And I was surprised to see that not more than one vine appeared, but maybe if you give it more time, or if I put some keiki paste down here, it might activate some of the lower notes. But as this becomes a more established plant, I think it will branch out more. But the key is pruning it often, or you can simply put these babies, because these are the ones that were in water. We put them in the soil in potting mix. Ooh, it's even rooted like, it's rooted like crazy. We moved it here 2 weeks ago because I just came back from Bangkok, and they were ready to be rooted. And look at that cute new baby leaf. That's super insanely cute. And this is definitely doing really well. And look at all that root. This is actually a very fast growing plant, one that I actually recommend. They do well in, I wouldn't say low light, but in a less than ideal light condition. But I've also put this in full sun before, and the leaves bleach a little bit in full sun, but they don't really burn up. So I think this is a plant that really likes that bright indirect light as a sweet spot. And I definitely recommend this. I would love to have these on sale so more people can have it, because it is a very uncommon plant. I wouldn't call this a rare plant, but I think one that is underrated and one that would look good in a lot of living situations. The next plant should be pretty easy to work with. The Alocasia, this is what we call Friedeck London Eye. Some people say Friedeck is the variegated version of this. It's pretty interesting. So this plant has really round leaves, and it's got this squid-like tentacles that come in and curl all over the place. But it is a very, very cute Alocasia here, and I'm getting my Alocasia game just right. For this one, I'm curious to see if it's got any corms in there. This is actually pretty dry. We might need to give it more water. It does need a bit of repotting, and I see corms. Came right off. Let me show you what the corm looks like. So Alocasia put out these, and we call them corms. So Kieran actually shared with me that it's a good idea to take off the brown sheaths from these. They will sprout faster. If you leave it in, this is like an umbilical cord that attaches to the mother plant. Usually this breaks off on its own, and the corm just kind of hangs up in the soil. If you don't do anything about it, it might just stay corm for a while. The corm might actually grow in size, which is a good thing. But if you break it off and then you grow it, plant it in the soil, and you have it buried until here, so the growing eye is facing up a little bit, it will sprout faster into its own plant. I'm gonna look around somewhere. There's some mealybugs here, not a problem. I'm not stressed out with pests because I know they're quite manageable. There might be some corms hidden in there, but I'm not gonna be worrying about those right now. I'll take this leaf off. What I'm gonna do is, look at this bare stem that it has. I might actually cut it. There. So when you make a cut like this, I might even put some keiki paste around the base of the node, just all the way around the stem, to encourage as many growing eye as possible to come out of it, and water it less because it does need a lot less water now that the whole entire thing is chopped off. So this is one size bigger, and I might even put the media a little bit deep, what do you call it? I want to cover the bare stem a little bit because some of the roots were actually showing on the surface. Okay, there you go. And I'm not even gonna water this today. The media is slightly on the humid side because we saw some mealybugs down there. I'm gonna add a little bit of slow release pesticide. This is carbofuran. I've mentioned this a lot in my videos. Not super proud of using it, but it is very effective for potted plants. And you can look it up on your own. This is that corm. I'm gonna show you how I put it in. I'm gonna put it maybe away from where the pesticide is, right here. And you wanna slowly push it in. And I try to keep the growing eye facing the sky a little bit so it can see the sky. And just like that, keep it slightly moist, not overwatered and not to the point where it will rot. It can dry out completely for like half a day or so, or maybe even a day, but the key is to give it moderate watering. I might even take off this leaf because it's not looking so beautiful, and 3 leaves is enough for us to get going. So take that off, and then I'm just gonna put it directly into a water vessel. Bam! So it's just gonna root on itself and not really have to worry about it for a while. All right, so this is that top cutting. We actually put it into the media, I think around 2 weeks ago. I totally forgot to film an update video of that, but I just want to show you it has already adhered to the media. So from water to the media now, it's doing quite well. This plant has actually put out 2 growing eye. The first leaf is problematic, but I have a feeling that if you keep growing this out, wait for the new leaf, they should come out just okay. And it might actually be a good idea to spray this down with neem oil as well, the entire plant, because it might be bacterial infection over here. Might have to do with our cutting shears or other factors. Now I remember putting a corm in here, but I cannot find it. I don't know where it is. We actually keep this very dry because we are afraid that there's not enough leaf here to photosynthesize. So it is potentially possible that the corm may have dried out, because the corm cannot dry out completely for too long, but this pot is very light, so that's possibly what happened to it. All right, moving on down. So it's gonna start getting more difficult as time goes by. I'm saving like the hardest plant for last. But this one here is a beautiful variegated Monstera, and you can see from the new leaves, it's gonna have really wonderful variegation. It does have a little bit of half moon, so I'm a little bit worried about it. But the parent, I think, have a bit of that as well. And then when you look down below, the roots are actually pretty healthy. But the reason why I took this down for plant care away from its original spot is that when it grows a new vine like this will soon put out aerial roots. And I want this aerial root to immediately start to grow into the media. So I wanted to give this a slightly taller pot. It might also be helpful to use these clear pots because I can see if I've overwatered the plant or not, as I'm an avid overwaterer, as you know. And you don't want to put it too deep in as well. You don't want to rot the original leaf, because the entire trunk of that old leaf is now submerged in this potting media. So there's that. Now, if you watch my potting mix video, I share with you the recipe for this potting mix. I don't really add pesticide or fertilizer in the beginning, in the first 3 months or so, because this has contained a lot of nutrients. It's got fermented media, and the new media is supposed to deter pests for the next few months. So I don't even bother adding any of that for now, but I do see some empty space down below. Maybe I might want to add a bit of media, in the bottom as well. Sorry, it's basically starting over, making a mess. It's done, but it does need something to stand on because it's falling over, it's top heavy. In this case, you know what I might even do? I might top it. Problem solved. Now it can stand on its own. Let's work on this Aglaonema rotundum cross with pictum. This plant used to have seen better days because it was like bushy and beautiful, like how Aglaonema should be. But we put it in a place where the sun's direction changed and a lot of the leaves scorched. So now it looks like pretty sad and bare. But this presents an opportunity for us to propagate it and turn it into many plants, which is what Aglaonemas tend to do for me. I'm always propagating them. And this is one that I feel has still some market value because it's beautiful Aglaonema hybrid with like beautiful pink veins and camouflage pattern. And it's pretty easy to take care of. I think a lot of you guys can guess what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start chopping it. This is a good size for a cutting. I'm gonna take this cut pretty low in the base, but I still have some nose down below. Cut, take it all. I'm very greedy when it comes to Aglaonemas because I'm super confident with them. Okay, I'm gonna leave these 2 leaves. One of the reasons is that 1, they're still too young to be cut, and number 2, I still would like to know what this plant is, because when you cut it bare, you don't really know what it is. And then I'm gonna go back with that bud breaker. Again, this is not sponsored, and I'm gonna go with all of the old vine that I cut. I'm gonna rub it. Make sure they sprout into a ton of little baby plants. Let me know down below, comment down below if this has worked for you, if you've tried the bud breakers. And that is done. Now with aglaonemas, you can stick them directly into soil. It'll do okay for you. It might be even faster, but for me, I have nearly 100% chance in water, so I might just do it in water anyway. And also with you, when you plant it directly into a potting mix, you need to control the watering, you need to stress out, but in water, you just kind of leave it and set it and forget it. And it's worth noting that if you look at this, you can see that the stem here is darker green and the internodes are a little bit longer. And then this is the time when I started putting it outside and the sun's direction changed. The internodes got closer, but you can also see that the color on the stem got a little bit discolored. It became this yellow color. So from here you can see the history of the health of this plant. This leaf is a little bit busted, but here this is fine. This is a sign of overwatering when you have the crisping at the edge with the yellow line right before that. So for this, I can actually even take sections of cutting and put the growing side up. Do that. So I'm gonna cut in between the lines. So make sure that I have the growing eye in the center of each cutting. Okay, and then normally I would just put this on the potting mix directly and it should do well. But with this bud breaker that we have, I might actually cheat a bit. I might add the bud breaker to encourage it to break its bud, I guess, even earlier, even better. And put that directly back into the parent plant. Remember, growing side up. You don't want to bury it, but you want to lay it on the soil where it's got its sides are a little bit nestled between the potting media in a comfortable way. I love seeing little baby aglaonema leaves come out of these little cuttings. So I'm going to put the rest in water. In water you can keep more leaves, but if you want to put them directly into soil, you might want to, for example, take an older leaf off. But when you're in water, the water can sustain the number of leaves, so you wouldn't have to worry too much about it. And one last one. Okay, I think I have like, I don't know, maybe like 10 cuttings in water, and then of course this will give me a ton more. So for me, propagating is a part of plant care in that every plant will eventually get oversized, overgrown, it will look horrible, and then you do have to cut it back. And then now you have more plants that you can trade for other plants, you can trade it up. So for me, I really believe that for the plant hobby to be sustainable and to be enjoyable, you do need to continuously propagate and then upgrade your plant collection to something newer, because new varieties are coming up into the market all the time. Imagine if I sold 10 of these, I could probably buy maybe even just one new variety, and then you would take that one variety, grow it for 2 years, and then cut it into 10 pieces, and then make even more, and then get a newer variety. I don't believe in this hobby we should continuously spend money and our hard-earned money to keep buying plants. Meet with your community. You can join the Facebook plant group, meet with some local plant people. You could even trade, swap plants. We haven't heard about plant swap in a long time, but back in COVID, there were a lot of plant swap events. So that's a really cool way to expand your plant collection and also your knowledge. I love growing different types of plants just for the kick of it, just to learn how they grow. And these are the water propagation. If you can see here, the roots have started to come out of the water, but I think it needs a little bit more time. As you can see here, these are still the primary roots and the secondary hasn't emerged yet. So I was gonna give it maybe like another month or so. And this right here is the mother plant that we took the cuttings off. The new leaves have started to emerge very beautifully. And then look at all these growth points here. Let me count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 that I can count, which is quite a lot. It's more than we need. So I'm gonna end up with maybe like, I don't know, 25 of these plants. Beautiful though. This is a very easy aglaonema and I highly recommend it. All right, we've got 2 more plants, but the camera is hitting up real quick, so I've got to work fast. So this is a Syngonium, I believe milk confetti if I'm looking over here, but I do see some pink varieties here too. So I think this might be a mixed bag, or it might be one of those tricolor Syngonium. So I'm not sure if this is just a few. Let me check here. If I take this out, I think this is a tricolor. If you look at this, this is all one plant. It contains green, white, and pink, but somehow I believe this turned to all white and this is like a green plant. So we're gonna do a bit of selection process. So anything that's green, we're gonna take out. This is green. I've got so many green Syngoniums that this is pretty much garbage for me. But then a lot of the lower vines, let me look carefully at the leaves. Let me study this. I've been meaning to work on this for so long, I just never got around to do it. And I'm glad we got to do it now, and I'm sorry if I sound a bit rushed. Lately, I've been pretty rushed with everything. This seems to me pretty bad, like this all green. Cut it all the way down. Now I'm confused. This one here looks all like a milk confetti. This one here looks like a tricolor. So I'm not even gonna salvage this. Originally, I was gonna take single node cuttings out of these, but if it's green, there's really no point, is there? So I'm gonna try to grow these out a little bit, but let me check the roots while we are here. Beautiful. So I see slight rot over there, but generally speaking, the roots are quite pretty. Syngoniums are very forgiving plants. They're so easy. So I highly recommend it. But this one, now that we've taken off the top growth, it'll focus everything on this part here. And I don't know how long ago we have this potting media, but I'm gonna add a little bit of pesticide. Not that they are particularly pest prone, so I'm adding less pesticide than normal. And some fertilizer also to help it along. Okay. And one reason that I think this might have reverted was because it might have been in a lower light, so it might have lost its variegation over time. But I'm very confident that these will give me something. I don't know what it'll give me yet, but we'll see. Can you believe that in like 2 months' time, it's turned into this beautiful, gorgeous plant? So don't hesitate to chop up your plants, you guys. When you do a bit of selective cutting, you can produce some beautiful babies. I still can't figure out why this one is so different from that one, but they look quite nice side by side. And imagine this on a wall like that. It's actually quite beautiful. Now, next we have the Hoya. This is the Hoya lacunosa, one that flowers very, very profusely, and it's one that is very easy to care for. It is, when it flowers, the fragrance is like permeating the entire house. So this is actually a cool Hoya to have around just for the blooms. Now for me, Hoyas are some of the most satisfying to propagate because I have nearly 100% success rate with it. So this one here, I'm gonna cut it. Now, I know that you can actually do bare node cuttings. Ivan from the Bee Hoya told me that, but I'm not really gonna do it. So I'm gonna take a 2-node cutting like this and put it in water. I've done a few Hoya videos if you check them out, but it's been a while actually since I did one. This might be a nice refresher for some of you newer to the channel. You can cut them anywhere like this and just put it in water and it'll do well, but this is too much plant material. So I might do only 2-node, I think is the ideal cutting size. This leaf doesn't look too happy, so I'm gonna let it go. And you want to cut from the end because you want to make sure it's the right side up. Like this, do not put it the wrong way. It's so easy to put it the wrong way in the water, in the media. This is a pretty long cutting actually. This one has split into 2 vines, but you know what? I'm gonna cut the long tendril off. And actually, if you have a longer vine like this, you can still propagate it in water. They're so easy to propagate. Okay, so that's that. So you at least need 1 node to propagate these, and I'm getting sticky everywhere, but I'm gonna do one example for you on how I propagate the Hoya, another way that is more efficient in my opinion. Now I usually use my aroid potting mix, but then my gardener actually has a lot of success growing Hoya in just this mix. He's a little bit more reserved than me when it comes to watering the Hoyas, but also have really good conditions for growing Hoyas, so they dry up pretty fast. So the best way to grow a Hoya, in my opinion, is to do single node cuttings. So basically you take a butterfly like this, and then the new vine would come out from in between the leaves. 2 should come out potentially. So what you do is you lay this on top of a media, and then you want to blanket these aerial roots. You want to make sure these are all buried under, but the leaves should be facing up towards the light. So then the new roots will root into the media downwards and a new vine will come up on the topsoil. So let me quickly show you how it's done. You do need moss for something like this. You want to lay it. So I'm going to lay this on the potting media and then just like gently cover the node with the moss a little bit, just to create a nice moist blanket so that the aerial root will grow into it. I'm gonna do a few more, and if you have dried aerial roots, I know some of you guys live in lower humidity, that might not work well because the dried aerial roots will not give you much of a success rate, but it is not impossible. It is still quite possible. So then when you lay a bunch of these, you should have a nice bushy pot of Hoya in no time. And then I kind of water it gently every day. Technically at this stage in their life, they only need the moss to be moist, so you can wet it slightly every day. The inside of the media, it don't need to be wet at this time. There's no roots down there. So you just want to have some ambient moisture or humidity right around where the roots are. All right, these are the Hoyas. Look at that. This is actually a whole new vine that came out. I don't know if you can see, it's trying to put out a new leaf. I don't know if I can see any more new vines coming out of this. It may be a little bit premature. That one, if you see in the middle, that's trying to put out a new vine, but it's too young. So the Hoyas, they actually take a while to get started, but once they do, they are very, very unstoppable. Now again, I totally forgot that we're filming this video, so I have actually put the water propagation into this potting mix again about 2 weeks ago, and it seemed to be doing well. Look at how chubby the leaves are. So we made the cut here, and I think the growing a new vine will be coming out from below. That one's actually a new vine. This right here, you can see. So yeah, that's also a new vine. Hoyas are unstoppable, and the lacunosa I absolutely recommend for the flowers. And there's also a lot of beautiful silver and variegated varieties for lacunosas if you want something a little bit more bougie. All right, I'm gonna finish this up and I'm gonna let you guys go because I think the camera is overheating now. I kept it on for too long. I want to thank you guys again for watching. Comment down below if you like more videos like this, because this is the grassroots of my channel where I just stand in front of a table and work on a few plants in my collection the way I normally would and just talk to you through the process of it. Make sure that you're subscribed. I know a lot more than 50% of you watching are not subscribed. Comment down below, send this video a like, and of course if you want to donate to the channel, you're more than welcome to do so. You can join at Patreon on patreon.com/Sean from OnlyPlants, or you can join as a YouTube member, and to do it just open any of my videos from a computer browser, and next to my channel name you will see that join button. This is for as small as a cup of coffee a month, and I really thank those of you who have contributed so far, and for the rest of you, just by watching this all the way to the very end means the world to me. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!